Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, and welcome back to my explanatory series, where I try to take things in the One Piece universe and try to use natural explanations from our reality in order to try to explain the craziness. I don't know, he seems like a fun topic to discuss. You people seem to like him. This little segment or series will be on the devil fruits in the One Piece world. We're going to be taking a look at the three main types of devil fruits and all the little subsets that exist. You know, for instance, like there's many different subsets of zone fruits. The three types, of course, as we all know at this point, but in case you just need a refresher: Paramecia, Zone, and the type we're going to be talking about today, Logia. And that's actually our first hurdle, figuring out how that word is pronounced. Logia or Logia? Vote now. You can't vote. YouTube took away annotations, so that dream is dead. But yeah, I'm just going to pronounce it Logia, because I think that would piss most people off, and I think that's the one that's the most correct. No, I'm just kidding. I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Logia. Okay, so Logia fruits. They're the ones that are regarded as the most powerful. Now, having a devil fruit ability doesn't immediately make you invincible. It really has something to do with the person themselves and how you train with it. But if you're just looking at, like, a base set of abilities that devil fruits give you, the abilities granted by a Logia devil fruit are probably at the base most powerful, because they give you the ability to turn into elements, actually transform your body into an element, like fire, or lightning, or snow, or mochi, or... Okay, we'll put that off on the back burner. We'll talk about Katakuri later. But, yeah, seems like a pretty impressive kind of ability. Although, you could still get injured with it, and as Pekom's even said to Karibo, you know, Logia users that think they're invincible have very short lifespans, so just don't think that you can evade every single attack in the One Piece universe. But it does allow you to avoid most standard ways that you would find yourself injured as a human. If you have the ability to transform into an element, then you don't have to worry about someone coming up to you and, like, stabbing you in the stomach a bunch of times, or lopping off your head with a fucking cutlass, or blasting a bunch of holes in your freaking noggin with a flintlock, or tanking cannon fire right in the stomach. That kind of stuff is, sort of just removed when you have the ability to just transform into an element and you can zip around at your own leisure. However, you are still a human being. Despite the fact of you being able to transform into an element, you still need to sleep, and eat, and drink, and you can still die. If you fall in the water, that is still something that can affect you as a devil fruit user. However, some Logias, as with the case with Aokiji, have a devil fruit ability that allows them to actually freeze the water. So Aokiji's probably like the only person that could really directly negate his devil fruit weakness. Not in the case that if he ever gets trapped in water, he won't be able to use his ice powers. He'll be rendered, unable to, really move around all that much. And getting sucked into the sea, by the way, that doesn't actually take away devil fruit abilities. Like when Luffy got stuck in that pool in Arlong Park, he was still able to stretch. It's just that they can't move very much, and they can't activate their powers themselves, and eventually you just drown. You'd lose consciousness, not being able to breathe oxygen. But in Aokiji's case, he ate the chili fruit, so if he's falling, it's like, oh shit, I'm about to hit the water. Well, I better freeze the whole damn thing so I don't, drown. So, they have, and of course, there's some elements like Ace's Maramara no Mi, and now Sabo's Maramara no Mi, and Eneru's Gura no Mi, that allows them basic flights. Or at least being able to, go from one short distance to another so they could, like, leap over water if that was the case. However, that's the important thing here to mention, though, is that how long can you actually stay in that state where you're an element? I feel like there has to be a time limit, because if there wasn't a time limit, there's really no reason for you to stay in that ethereal state all the time. Think of how useful that would be. If Ace could turn into fire and just stay as fire, like, you could use that for, like, reconnaissance purposes a little bit, or, to make yourself look like a fucking fire demon to scare the shit out of your enemies or something. But no, it seems they always revert back to their original form at some point. They have to. I feel like a lot of devil fruits, and it was really mostly stated by Law with his Oppi Oppi no Mi, they have some form of, like, stamina depletion. It just seems weird that you'd be able to just use these powers infinitely without any sort of drawbacks, Like, you'd think there is some sort of drawback. Now, there are certain specific weaknesses to devil fruits, like Crocodile, who's also a Logia, is weak to water. Not just seawater, but any kind of water, you know, even if he takes a shower, he can't use his Sand powers. But yeah, you'd think they're like, like Luffy, for instance, you know, he can stretch all the time. It's not like he reaches a point where he can't stretch anymore unless he uses Gear Fourth, but he gets very hungry when he uses his ability. I feel like maybe that's tied to that in maybe some way or form. Like, it just, you think of it like a natural ability. Like, you know, if you ran a long distance, you're gonna get tired. You just can't run forever. You need to stop at some point, and you need to rest, and you need to eat, and you need to recharge your body a little bit. So I feel like that is part of the reason why they just don't always stay in that form. Think of it like their life energy is the thing that's actually supplying the fuel for their devil fruits. Like, the reason, like Ace's fire is special fire, you know, it's not limited to oxygen or anything like that. It's more of just like his own stamina that's fueling his flames. That's the way I always thought about it, and the reason why they would eventually have to transform back into their human forms, and why they just don't stay as like their element. So the only way to seriously injure a Logia type fruit, unless it's like a natural weakness, as we've already stated, like Crocodile's natural weakness was water, as well as Katakuri's mochi fruit, as well as, well, Cracker's wasn't a Logia, but you know, his mochi fruit Katakuri's was weak to water as well. But the only way to actually harm them universally is through Haki, armament Haki specifically, being able to strike them, and it basically forces the part of the body that gets hit with the Haki basically gets forced into the corporeal form, gets forced out of whatever elements it's in, and has the user take damage there. There are some ways you can get around even that if you're clever, though, and you really are pretty adept at using your Devil Fruit ability. That's to say that you can't just like, oh, I have a Logia fruit. Bite. Oh, that was disgusting, but now I'm invincible. No one can hurt me. You have to train with it a little bit more as well, as with the case with Aokiji again. So Aokiji has the ability to turn into ice, which, by the way, isn't a, it's not a not ethereal, it's not like some form of energy or like fire, you know what I mean? Like, it's a solid thing that can actually be hit. Even after he turns into his element, he basically gets turned into an ice statue. Now, even if this ice statue gets destroyed, even if he turns into ice and then, you know, someone takes a giant hammer and breaks the thing, he can just reform himself. What I'm saying is, he can't just, like, the attacks just won't pass right through him like they would with Ace or Monet or something like that, alright? But, you know, so Whitebeard took his freaking, you know, his halberd thing, and he was a Bicento. Sorry, it was a Bicento, not a halberd. Those are different things, I know. Takes his Bicento, charges it up with Haki, and then just rams it right through Aokiji's freaking heart. However, Aokiji, knowing that it was charged up with Haki and knowing that he couldn't, you know, avoid it, so everyone's like, oh no, Aokiji's dead. No, what he did was, he made it so that, like, the center form of his body was a hole. So he turned that one part into ice, and then just avoided it that way, you know, like, it broke the hole through it, so it just, you know, it ran right through him. That's the way that he did it. So that was a pretty handy trick you can learn there. However, you'd think that it wouldn't be able to always work like that. You know, that was kind of a direct attack. You know, Whitebeard coming right at you with a Bicento. But if you had, like, a bunch of people coming at you with, like, swords all charged up with Haki, I don't think that same trick would really work. You get hit at least at some point there. So let's talk a little now about how the different elements stack up, how different devil fruits are, like, more advantageous to others. And this is not something that's limited to Logia. There are Paramecia and, well, I don't know about Zoan, but there's Paramecia fruits that have this same thing. Like, for instance, Baby Five's Buki Buki no Mi allows her to summon any type of weapon from her body. That's kind of like the upgraded or, like, better version of the Suba Suba no Mi that Mr. One had that allowed him to just summon, like, swords, you know. He could summon swords. Baby Five could summon swords and guns and cannons and pretty much anything else. Plasma rifles? I don't know. Flamethrowers? Sure, go for it. But there are advantages that way with Logias too, as with the case, probably the most notable example here was Ace having the ability of fire, and then you have Akainu who has the ability of magma. Magma, hotter than fire, so even when Ace is in his fire form, magma attacks don't just pass right through it. It could still hurt him, and in Ace's case, hurt him a lot. He got hurt a lot in that fight, guys. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it. He might show up later. He might be still alive, but, no, I'm just kidding. He got fisted! He's dead, bitch! He's deader than a fucking doornail! And I don't know if you guys noticed, but doornails... pretty already fucking dead. Okay, so anyway, with that being the case, we also have another example. We have Monet's Snow Fruit and Aokiji's Chili Fruit. Been talking a lot about Aokiji in this video. I don't know, I don't care. Aokiji's an awesome dude. Go check out this discussion video I made about him. But of course, snow, you know, that's a cool power, I guess, you know, snow, whatever. But Aokiji is literally like the ability to freeze things himself. It's probably also best to not think about Aokiji's ability so much about ice rather than actual, like, the essence of cold itself. You know, that he can freeze anything he touches, even his own body, and that's how he becomes that, like, ice statue. That's the way I always viewed it. His powers is not like the ice fruit, it's the chili fruit. So he just has, you know, power over cold itself, and that, of course, trumps up the ability to just summon some snow flurries whenever you want. And since I just mentioned both of them, let's talk about awakenings now, as in the case with Aokiji and Akainu and their epic battle on Punk Hazard. So every devil fruit is capable of awakenings. We all know this. Although I like to think that depending on the different type of devil fruit, yields a different awakening. And I'm not just talking about, like, Logia, Zone, Paramecia. I'm talking about how, like, in Paramecias, you have some devil fruits that, like, change the actual physical structure of your body, like Luffy's. And then you have devil fruits that are able to summon an effect, like Doflamingo's String Fruit. Not actually turning his body into strings, just summoning, you know, strings himself. I like to think there's different levels of awakenings in those subsets. But when it comes to Logia, we actually have not seen an awakened Logia fruit, although Crocodile's kind of out there. I'll get to that in a second. But the way I think Logia awakenings work is that it actually affects the weather. I think this would fit a lot with the idea that Logias are one of the rarest and most powerful devil fruits just by default. And if you train with it a lot, you manage to... And I would also imagine maybe a little bit more difficult to master. You know, being able to turn into an element and have free control over this. Even Sabo mentioned it wasn't super easy to do that kind of stuff right out of the gate. So way more difficulty to master, and then finally when you do master it, when you do awaken it, your reward for that is, you know, you're able to influence the weather itself. I think this is very clear when Akainu and Aokiji fought on Punk Hazard, which was just this empty wasteland, and then after their battle, which lasted like I think 10 days or some such, after the battle, the actual physical layout of the island has been changed forever. Half of it frozen tundra Arctic, the other half is just this molten death field of volcanoes and rivers of lava running all over the place, and then the weather above it, you know, reflects that, you know, massive blizzards over here, you know, it never rains or anything over on this side. The layout of Punk Hazard has forever been changed, long after those two combatants have left. So I think that's a fair way of saying that's how it works. Then, of course, you get to Crocodile, who stated that, you know, he's trained with his devil fruit for a long time and he's mastered it. Crocodile was the first person to even mention the concept of awakenings and Impale Down. He was able to turn other things into sand beyond just himself, and, you know, he can control the sandstorms himself. Perhaps, maybe his ability only really is truly to its fullest extent when he is in, like, an actual desert. Or, here's another idea, maybe, like, whatever island Crocodile's on, because we don't get to see Crocodile all that much, but it'd be cool that, like, if Crocodile, like, really fucking wanted to, he can turn any island into a desert island. You know, he could just make it so that there's no more moisture, there's no more, you know, like, you know, rain there, and he can convert even the most lush green island into a desert, and then he can just do whatever he wants with his devil fruit. Obviously, Alabasta was a desert long before the Crocodile showed up, but that would make sense why he would go there, and he would target Alabasta beyond just having Pluton, like, oh, it's a desert kingdom, I'm gonna fucking... I'd be able to take over this place before breakfast if I really wanted to. But... that's up for debate. Maybe you guys can talk about that in the comments below, whether or not Crocodile has an awakened fruit. But I certainly think he would meet that sort of quality. I mean, he's had his fruit for a long time. He's one of the stronger characters in the story. He's been a main enemy. He's certainly very powerful. He was the first person to mention it. And he said to Luffy, you know, I've been training with my devil fruit for a long time. It's just that Luffy got lucky, and you know, Crocodile has a very obvious weakness, which is that of water. So that makes sense there. And Logia types are also the only type that we know of so far that do not have those subsets I was talking about. Like Paramecia has, like, here are Paramecia fruits that summon an element, like, you know, Galdino's Wax fruits or Magellan's Poison. They don't actually turn into wax or poison. They can just summon, like, a seemingly infinite supply of it. And then you have Luffy's types that actually change the physical structure of their body, like the Gamu Gamu no Mi and the Jacket Jacket no Mi. Oh yeah, the Jacket Jacket fruit. I think I'm going to do an entire discussion video just on the Jacket Jacket fruit and prove to you that it is not as lame as it looks. Because I think this needs to be stated. I don't see a lot of people talking about that. But yeah, those are the subsets there. And then, of course, you get to zones, which have a bunch. You have, like, ancient zones, carnivorous zones, mythical zones, which Marco has, which is even rarer than Logia. But when it comes to Logia, it's just like a straight-up typing. You know, turn into some sort of element, and it's same basic rules. And then you get to one of them that makes my brain hurt, and I really can't explain at all other than just having access to a fucking pocket dimension. But then you get to Caribou, whatever. And he has the ability of the Numa Numa no Mi. Adiahi, adiaha, adiaha. Does anyone get that reference? That's old school memes. That's like one of the original memes. I'm not even fucking... That's like 2006, like, vintage meme right there. You know, okay, whatever. Anyway, the Numa Numa no Mi, allowing him to transform into a swamp man. Mud is basically his element. And the thing that makes my brain hurt is he can apparently suck any number of things in. Like, he has an infinite space he could just throw shit in. You know, he kidnapped all the mermaids, and trying to kidnap Shirahoshi, who's fucking huge. Oh my god, you can't show... Come on now! Standards and practices, where are you, good sir? This is the main difference between animated programs that air on, like, early morning time slots for children in Japan compared to America. Look at this right here. Yeah. I'm sure there's gonna be an episode of Adventure Time or a fucking regular show in the future that features something like this on American television. Damn, nope. No, in Japan, 8:30 in the morning, prime time slot for children to view. Yeah, that's kinky. But the thing that also bugs me is not just the fact that he can draw in anything he wants seemingly infinitely in this pocket space he has, but he can also summon whatever he wants in this space. Like, it's like, I want that Gatling gun I put in my stomach, and then a Gatling gun will just plock out and he could just use it. So, I can't explain that unless Caribou has access to another universe, which I'm fine with. No, I'm not fine with that. I mean, yeah, that makes me hurt. But, you know, all the other ones, you know, pretty basic. Eneru, turn into electricity. He could zip around with that. You know, shoot down Divine Thunder. Ace and Sabo are fire. Aokiji's cold. Monet's snow. You know, magma. And then you get to Kizaru, who has light. And you could debate for days if Kizaru is actually capable of moving at light speed. Because you'd think, like, the world government wouldn't have any problems whatsoever if he was capable of doing that. So, I mean, there's some things there, but for the most part, they're pretty there. I mean, don't think, like, Oda's gonna break out too much logic when it comes to, you know, powers like Kizaru. Like, you know, Oda's gonna break out some rules of physics involving Kizaru's light powers. Although I would like to see what would happen if Kizaru, like, turned into light and then attacked an enemy, and then you just pull out a mirror. I would have loved to see what would happen with that. Like, would he just break the mirror? Like, fuck you. I guess, although, I did hear once that it does depend on, like, the intensity of the light, doesn't it? Like, if the light is, like, you know, I don't know physics terms, but if the light is strong enough or dense enough, if that's a term, it'll just shatter the mirror. That's what lasers are. Lasers are light that are really fucking, you know, intense and really strong. So if that's the case, it would just break the mirror. But I would assume that if you have a strong enough mirror, a thick enough mirror, then he would be able to just refract or bounce off of it. So someone would have to calculate that, I guess. That's that, though. That's as much as I can explain the Logia fruits, the different aspects of them transforming into elements, how you can injure them, the awakening, being able to change your element around you, and apparently some of them that have an infinite pocket universe that they can store shit in and then summon it at will. Okay, whatever. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know, comment below what your favorite Logia Devil Fruit is and Devil Fruit user, and about the new series. Not really a new series, just a little episodic thing I'm gonna do. Just 2 more episodes for Zones and Paramecia, and that'll be it. Unless Oda decides to reveal, oh, by the way, there was a 4th kind of Devil Fruit all along. This really rare one that's like made of like gold or some shit. I'm like, all right. Well, wasn't there already a gold fruit? Yeah, there was. I saw the movie. There was. But, yeah, okay. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one, everyone. Tekking, signing out.